Perfect. Perfect.
There we go.
Well, thanks for taking the time to join me today. Welcome to the
thanks for having
Non-Stuffy
me.
Attorney.
I don't know what we're talking about, but
me neither. Yeah, welcome to the Non-Stuffy Attorney podcast. So yeah, nice meeting you. I guess why don't we start out and just you tell me a little bit about your story and how you got to where you're at now.
So I'm Christina Alvarez. I am owner at C. Alvarez Law, mostly practicing in Central Florida. My firm practices exclusively family law. And so I have been an attorney for a little over 10 years. And I have had my practice open for a little bit over 10 years. So that is an interesting story that we can definitely talk about and how that all came to be. But yeah, it's myself. I have some attorneys, paralegals. So it's a full staff, full business operation. It's constantly moving. We're growing a lot. I've grown almost over 40% every year since 2018.
Great job.
Thank you. So I just made the Law Firm 500 list of one of the top fastest growing law firms of 500 law firms across the country. And so again, we're growing and I'm super grateful and blessed for that.
I bet. How do you get on that list? Our PR department is not the best, and that's something that I need to. It's a little bit of a project this year, but I want to, because we've grown pretty considerably since we started as well. And I'm like, gosh, I need to get us like publicized or something. How do you go about that? So
they send you an email, and there's a certain time frame to apply. And then you have to input all of your gross revenue numbers for, I think it's the last 3 or 4 years. And then they'll call you and verify that those are the correct gross revenue numbers. And then based on that, you get entered into the list. And then, if you make it, they'll publicize the list.
Yeah. Awesome. I need to do it. I keep procrastinating and doing other shit.
It's free. It's not something you pay for. So I want everybody to understand that I did not pay to be on this list. Like some of these, some of these awards that we see, we're like, really? Okay.
Well, I've seen that. That's what I've been like. I'm like, and then they're like, okay, it'll be $5,000. I'm like,
no, this is a legitimate award. You cannot pay for it. You have to enter your numbers and they verify these numbers.
Awesome. Who's it with again?
It's called Law Firm 500.
Law Firm 500. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And they give you a list of where you're at within the 500 law firm. So I think I'm at 85 right now.
Wow. Amazing. Yes. Good job.
Thank you.
And you started how long ago? Say it again.
So 10 years, which is it's a crazy story because there's a lot that's happened in those 10 years. I passed the bar in 2014. I was of counsel at a small boutique family and immigration law firm, which that attorney, he was my mentor, and I had been working for him as a law clerk during law school. And so what happened was I had an interest in family law. I quickly decided that I did not want to be an immigration lawyer, even though I came to work with him to do immigration, because it was just too sad. I know people think I'm nuts when I say that. Like, what do you mean? Family law is so sad. No, for me, immigration was heart-wrenching. I could not do it. And I commend anybody who does that all day, every day, especially in the climate that we're in now, because it is tough.
Yeah.
So he knew I had an interest in family law. He had also been practicing that as well. And so he said to me, listen, I can't hire you as an associate, but I think that we could work something out where you take my family law cases. I'll teach you how to run those cases from start to finish. I'll teach you how to go to trials, take depositions, taking you under my wing and build your litigation skills. And in return, you're going to handle these cases for me. And I don't really have to do too much on them except for mentor me when he needed to. And so that worked out really well for us. And I got a lot of learning experience, a lot of learning trial by fire, a lot of bumps, bruises. So that's how I learned how to litigate.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right.
He's probably kicking himself for not hiring you as an associate at that time.
Well, there's a story there as well.
Tell me, what happened?
Here's the story. The story is, I said, you know what? I would like to move offices because I was in his office. Like when I tell you in his office, I mean like I had a desk in his office and he had his desk. And so I was taking Right. So I was taking clients on my own at that point too, because I had opened my practice, because I said, listen, open your practice. I'll help you with that. I won't take any fee on that. I'll refer clients. That when I said, great, amazing. So for a little bit that worked, and then I started getting more clients. And I said, this doesn't work anymore. I can't be inside of your office. Like, I need a real office. Because I don't know, I just felt at that point like it was time. So fine. So we moved together to a new office. We brought in another attorney who was actually my best friend in law school. And we all practiced something different. And at some point we were like, oh, why don't we just all partner together? So we did that for about 2 years. We all partnered together. And then for me, some personal things happened. My health wasn't the greatest. That had been like 4 years into it at that point. I mean, I was just running myself ragged. You understand, you're trying to build a business. I was everywhere at all times. So I was working during the day. At some point we brought on an associate. I'm mentoring the associate. Then I'm at all the networking events every night, trying to get cases, trying to build reputation within the community and with the other lawyers and the judges. Then I was on Hispanic Bar, which is near and dear to my heart. So I was a board member there. So I was just doing a lot. And I remember like just running myself ragged. And at some point I had a health issue and I had to take a little bit of a step back. And so I decided to join another boutique firm as non-equity partner. And that lasted a good 8 months.
So the three of you were partners together and then you decided, hey, I need to back up. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. How was, so then you joined another boutique firm. We don't have any partners in our firm. My wife is the managing attorney. Yeah, we don't have any partners. It's something that we've discussed in the past, and I'm like the finance guy, and I haven't. How do you work it out financially when you have partners? I've read articles and shit like that, and it's like I don't know what really works or what would be considered fair, or do they buy in, or like, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah. I mean, I do. The three of us really started with nothing. One of us, my mentor, he had a book of business already. He had a reputation already. So I think what we did was we gave him a little bit more percentage because he was also managing the books and the administrative part of it, while myself and my other partner were managing the cases. And I think we gave him a little bit more on the percentage side, but basically we did was like eat what we kill based on the referral source. And so that worked out well. And then we just said, okay, here are the expenses. Like, let's share the expenses 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And that happened with the staff as well. And so that worked out really great for us because, again, myself and my other partner, we were just starting out. I think we had been like 3-4 years in practice. And so that was like a nice little deal for us. But on the non-equity side, I was doing the same thing. I was eat what I kill. And then I was giving a percentage back to the firm for administrative costs, malpractice insurance. I had a staff member come with me as well. And so that's how we worked that out. It's a little bit different than having like equity, in a firm.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever business you brought in personally.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's like considered a fair percentage in a situation like that?
Which one?
To pay the second one. To pay.
I left there in 2018 or 19. I cannot remember the year, to be honest with you. I don't remember too much about the arrangement. It was a very short arrangement. I lasted there about 8 months. I quickly realized that I was meant to be by myself all along, it turns out. And I, of course, admire and still to this day talk to my former partners, my first two. Good friends with them. We see each other at events, no ill will there. Everything ended fine. But I think for me, I quickly realized after the second situation that I am not what they would call a caged bird. It was very, very hard for me to adhere to certain rules because I was like, well, I've been not by myself, but I had freedom for so long. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I couldn't imagine that.
Yes. So that situation was very short. No regrets. I don't have any regrets on that. I think I learned a lot in that firm. But I think most of all, it gave me the confidence to know that like I could do this by myself. I didn't need partners. Like,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if we need partners either. I don't know what the benefit necessarily would be, except possibly getting into other practice areas that we're not going to do.
Mhm.
But then I look at like marketing, and we market very heavily.
Mhm.
So like, okay, if I had a partner and they're doing, I don't know, medical malpractice, for example, some random, right? I would want to be spending money on marketing,
Of
right?
course.
To bring in leads for that practice area. So then how do we determine what business they brought? Yeah, it just kind of gets a little funky. I don't know.
And I think when you don't have an agreement about the marketing budget is something that's very hard to grow. If you don't have an agreement on a marketing budget and you have one idea of like, okay, I want to grow 50%, I want to double the leads, I want to double the cases, and somebody else doesn't agree with that, it does hold you back, from achieving what you want to do. But on the flip side, right, you have the same situation. I mean, I'm the only attorney, like not working, but it's my firm, right? I'm the only equity person here. So if I make a decision and I say, I want to spend $50,000, let's say, in marketing this month, let's just say, and that bombs, that decision's with me. I can only blame myself for making that stupid decision or not managing the ROI correctly or managing the leads correctly or managing the data correctly. So, there is a benefit, I think, in having maybe some soldiers, I think, in the trenches with you who understand how that works. Because, even if you hire associates, they're not aware of all the costs and expenses that go into building a business and all the costs and expenses of the acquisition of bringing the marketing in. Like, I'm sure you have the same thing. I have a marketing vendor that I pay every month, right? I mean, I have other marketing things that I do, networking events. I just threw a big Valentine's Day party. I had almost 50 women there, right? Wow. That's a marketing event right? And I loved the event, but it's costly. It was not cheap. Those are all things you're factoring into the marketing budget, which again, like if you have partners, they have the books, they understand what the books look like. Mm-hmm. So that's the one benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's something that I've just kicked around ever since we started. Just like, okay, do we want to partner? Ashley's more not so much that way, but we've grown well with the model that we've had. So I don't know if it's necessary.
So if it's not broken, why fix it?
Yeah. I look at like time off and stuff like that. Are you able to take much time off?
So I could if I wanted to, but I'm a workaholic. So for me, time off is like myself and my whole staff, we get time off for Christmas. So I close the office the 24th and we don't come back until the next day after the new year, whatever day that falls on. So that's my time off. And then I take maybe like a week in the summer. I'm working on being better about that this year. I feel like I just got in place my associates, which we are looking for a new senior associate. So just want to throw that out there for family law in Central Florida. I have
if anyone out there.
Yeah, please. So I think for me, I just started to get this flow in the system where I feel like I can leave for a little bit of longer periods of time without, having this anxiety that like, oh my gosh, there's clients in my inbox, nothing's moving forward or cases aren't being signed. And so I am working on that, but no, I'm not good about that. Right.
So you're not the one for advice on that.
I do take every Friday off. I say like take Friday off. Right.
But not really.
I'm terrible. I have no boundaries on this, but I'm like, hey staff, I'm out. Hey clients, I'm out. But I'm talking to my staff that day. Like I'm in the inbox that day. I mean, it's just, I can't help it. But I do take that day off and I do spend that day usually with my daughter who's 4 years old.
Aw.
I've been doing that for a very long time.
That's great. I love that. I love that idea of being able to take one day off a week. What about, are you mostly doing the consults, the sales?
So no, it's myself. I have 2 other attorneys who do that. I'm sorry, we have 4. I have 4 attorneys doing the sales.
Okay.
Including myself. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do they get bonused on their sales?
Yes.
That's good.
Yes,
That's
they
good.
do.
Okay. So if you were to take time off, revenue can still come in.
Right. I think for me, it's more about like making sure that the current cases are being covered, because in family law, I don't know if you have any experience with that, but things
None.
happen, right? Emergencies do happen, not often, but something will happen and somebody will say, I need an emergency motion. A client, I need this right now, and I'm like, okay, well, I have no choice. It is an emergency. Let's say I don't want to be the one on the beach drafting an emergency motion. So now I have people, associates that I can rely on to do that for me. So I think I do feel a little bit more comfortable now taking some more time off.
Yeah. Yeah. We're working to build up a proper sales team that they're just dedicated to sales. Cause that's been mostly our problem with being able to take time off. We'll take long weekends, we've been taking one long trip, well, a week every summer since we opened, but our times off have been long weekends, right? Either 3-day weekend or 4-day weekend.
Yeah, I actually had to bring in another attorney to do sales because we were having a problem with intake where they were saying, hey, I have people who want to get in for a consult, but the 3 of you do not have time. Like, where do I put these people? So now it's actually not thinking about it. So 3 attorneys, me, yeah, and then the 2 contract attorneys. So I have 5. So we had to bring in some more people.
Yeah.
Which is great, amazing problem to have,
That's
right?
smart.
But then, and all those, one of the attorneys, all she does is literally sales. That's all she does. She doesn't do anything else here. And then I have another.
How'd you find her?
So I found her through a Facebook group for business owners who have their own law firm, women particularly. And I just posted, hey, I need somebody of counsel. It was a couple of years ago, maybe like 2 years ago. And that she was working with us as of counsel. She was handling cases. She got too busy. She has a family of her own. She has her own practice, which is growing. And so I just switched her over to sales because she's a beast at sales. She signs clients left and right. So I was like, I don't want to lose her. So let's leverage her talent. It works for me and it works for her, right? Because I bonus her out on whatever cases she signs.
Is she still of counsel? Does she still have her own firm?
So yes, that's correct. Yes, but she doesn't do any legal production work. She doesn't go to mediation. She doesn't do any document drafting. All she does is consultations.
Yeah. We just hired, she just started yesterday, a non-attorney salesperson who was doing sales for family law.
Mm-hmm.
So she just started, she doesn't have any experience in our areas, but she's a salesperson. And then we hired an attorney who starts next week, who's just going to do sales as well. Yeah. And then we have 3 intake girls, women. I say girls, I got in trouble for saying that recently. They are women. Yeah.
Grown women.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I say
I'm not the one to have this conversation with. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I know it just for some reason it just comes to my mind. I don't think of them as girls, I don't think of them as children. They're grown ass women. But anyway, I want to have it set up so that sales is just doing sales and the legal work, those people are just doing legal work, right? And really separate the hats out. So I'm excited about it. It'll probably take a couple months to get it fully operational and get everyone trained and grooved in and all that.
Yeah. And they will be more efficient, I will tell you, because they won't feel so pulled between, okay, do I bill right now and make money on my billables, or do I open my schedule up for consultations and get bonus on the consultations? So it doesn't create that that dilemma for them.
Yeah. I had noticed when Ashley was doing the legal work and the consults, right? When it was really just her, we would have like she'd sell a bunch, right, in 1 week, right, do a bunch of sales, close a bunch of matters. And then the following week, the income would crash and she wouldn't. And after kind of discussing it with her, it was a little bit of this push and pull where she almost subconsciously didn't want to sell more.
Yes. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've done it to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. I mean, it's a subconscious thing. I've done this to myself where I'm like, okay, 1 month I'll sign, I don't know, let's say I signed 9-10 clients, right? I'm like, amazing. I signed 9 or 10 clients. And next month I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now I have to do work for 9 or 10 clients. How am I going to sign another 9 or 10 clients this month?
Yeah, I'm not going to have the time to do the work.
Of course. You're right. And, I think we're all, I'm like this. I would imagine that you are. We want to give our clients quality legal representation. I'm not one to cut corners. So I didn't want to sacrifice the quality of the work and the representation, just to take on more cases, just for the sake of taking on more cases. So that's a hard balance. And I think that is something that is hopefully, and it has been kind of resolved for me with having these contract attorneys come in and just do sales.
Yeah. Yeah, it's smart because then they don't, as an administrator here, I want, the floodgates have always had to be open to bring in new clients, right? And the production end, the production end has to just be able to handle the work. And I want to basically make it so that they need more staff to be able to handle the work.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, I want them to be so maxed out that they're like screaming, "Hey, I need help." And that's really where it's kind of just been this jockeying back and forth of spending more money on marketing, getting people to be able to do the intakes, overflooding production, hiring more production people, spending more money on marketing, right? And just kind of this.
It's a hard, delicate dance for sure.
Yeah.
But other attorneys that also have their own practices, they'll say to me, well, I had so many cases, I decided to turn off, whatever marketing funnel was bringing them a bunch of cases. And I'm thinking, oh my God, no, that's death. Why would you do that? Like, just hire more people, right? Even hire contract attorneys or contract paralegals so that you can handle the production. I would never recommend to anybody to turn your marketing off. Do not do that. Never. You can always refer the cases out too, right? And that's goodwill toward your friends who are fellow business owners. I've done that. And then they remember it later on, like, hey, remember where Christina couldn't handle all these? I'm also a family lawyer. She gave these to me as a referral. And, now I want to do something else for her and make sure that, I, give the love back. So that's always an option too. Yeah.
How many are you guys in-house or do you have remote workers?
So we're a hybrid. I do have an office in downtown Orlando, and some of my people are here, and then I do have other people who are remote fully. So it's a hybrid.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah, we recently hired our first paralegal who was totally experienced, really, really good, but she lived like an hour and a half away, and she just happened to be in here visiting with and just saying hello to another employee that she knows. And as she was leaving, I got introduced, and I was like, "Hey, let's talk." And we're like talking. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're amazing! I need to hire you." And she's like, "I live an hour and a half away." And to this point, we had been like, "No, we're not. We're not going to be remote at all." So she changed my mind. She's been with us for, I guess, about a month now. And it's worked out fine. Okay. It's worked out great. Yeah. And then the non-attorney salesperson who's training in-house right now, she lives about 2.5, 3 hours away. So she's going to be, remote too. So it's worked out fine for you though. Yeah.
It's had no effect on my practice whatsoever. It's actually given me leverage because I'm able to source talent from wherever. I mean, I'm not limited to the pool here in Central Florida. I will tell you on the attorney end, that's been difficult because I'm not requiring the new attorney to come into the office. but I need them to be able to attend in-person court in Central Florida and the counties we practice in. And so that is a limitation for me that I have not had with the other positions.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been amazing. We were hybrid before COVID. So when everybody was panicking, right, and they were like, how are we going to work? Oh my God, we can't come to the office. I was like, okay, like, what days do you guys want to have your team meeting on Zoom? Like, we were fine. I actually grew that year substantially because the people were getting divorced too, left and right. It was insane. But
they're spending too much time together.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, yes. But for us, it was just a very like smooth transition, like no hiccups. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's your staff count at?
Oh my gosh, I never know the answer to this question.
I never do too. I know people ask me, I start counting desks.
Well, I can't do that.
I know. It's even harder for you.
We just hired a new intake person. She's been with us about a month now. I just actually hired a new legal assistant. She will be starting next week. I have my office manager paralegal. I have another full-time paralegal, my junior associate, and then we have 1, 2, 3 contract attorneys, and I am looking for, I'm lying, 4. I have 4 contract attorneys. 4 contract attorneys, and I'm looking for the senior associate at this point. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you do? Does your intake person, are they receptionist as well?
No. So I actually did have that set up. Before this person, I had them doing reception and intake as a dual role. And I found that was terrible. And I'm going to tell you why. Because clients would call in to reception and they would be like, I want to know what the status of my case is right now. And I think people felt compelled in that moment to give them an answer. And then we would get all kinds of messages of like, this client's on the phone right now. What do I tell them? And I was like, no. Like, that's not your job, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've done now, and I've kept it this way, is I actually have Ruby receptionists as the reception right now. And that's been great because they enter everything into my case. They take messages. So, we always have those clients who are like, you need to talk to me right now because it's an emergency. Yep. I don't do that in my office. We only take, for attorneys, at least we only take scheduled phone calls. Or I reach out to you and say, hey, yes, we do need to talk. So that has cut down on that a lot. And then I just have them routed. So if it's a new lead, they know to route to intake, and then intake will take that over. Because that's a very time-consuming conversation. And I was finding that was a problem too. But intake would need to spend, 15 to 20 minutes just getting the information from the client. But then the phone is ringing and they're conflicted. What do I do now? So I have to tell you, for me, that's been an amazing change and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, we recently hired Smith AI, which I guess is similar to Ruby, right?
Very similar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They started, I guess they started last week. It must have, I guess it's been about 8 days ago that they started with us. We're still handling some hiccups, and I have to get in there and see if things are getting filtered properly or not. But yeah, we get a lot of leads a month. I think we had they're handling our marketing, just our marketing phone line. So the main phone line, comes here. But we get like 700 calls a month. And our 3 intake women were, I said women there.
Good job.
I'm getting out of that circuit that I have in my head.
Did you read any of my bio? Did you see that I miss women's rights or?
No, I didn't. I didn't read that. Well, but I'm
hello, welcome.
I don't know why I've been saying whatever.
It's funny.
But yeah, it is funny. No disrespect intended. But yeah, it was even, we have 3 of them, and it was overwhelming for them when we were still missing calls. And for me, a missed call is like the worst thing in the world. Oh,
the worst. No, yes, the worst. For sure.
Yeah. that was one of the things when we first started. I wanted to see what people liked and disliked about attorneys. And I had planned to like go out and do a survey, like an in-person survey of people. But that's kind of like what I was taught back before in my marketing background. But COVID happened, right? It was May of 2020. So when we opened, so I couldn't do that. So I read at least 1,000 Google reviews. And there was 3 things that came up consistently for the 5-star and the 1-star reviews. And it was either 5-star, they had these 3 things, the 1-star, they didn't have these 3 things. And it was that the attorney was knowledgeable, they were competent, they know what they were doing, that they were relatable, they were down to earth, they were just like them. That's how we came up with the Non-Stuffy attorney brand. And that the last thing was that their communication was exceptional. They answered the phone, they returned phone calls, and an overwhelming amount of 1-star reviews was, I could never get a hold of anybody. And it was like okay.
Anybody at all?
Yeah, they would call the office, leave messages, and just not hear back. Yeah. And it was a lot. Like a lot of these ones, if you go read these 1-star reviews, that's like one of the biggest complaints that you're going to see. So I was like, okay, well, we know what we have to do. We have to be, our communication line has to be open, and we have to be fast with communication. That's what the people want. Yeah. So what are you doing for marketing?
What am I doing for marketing? So I do digital marketing, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, networking, that's my main thing. And that's always been my main thing, is the networking. I feel like those relationships bring the best clients. And I've had the most success doing that. And so again, I just did an event. I do it every year. It's called Galentine's Day. And this is my 4th year doing it. And so what I did for that event was I invite all the women who I do business with, or who provide me referrals, who are actually like my vendors. So I had like my financial planner there, some vendors that work in the firm with me, and I just bring everybody together, and they exchange information, and they're able to help each other get referrals. So that's a big deal to me. The women's groups, and I'm also in another women's group called Miss Esquire. It's not just for attorneys. There are other professionals in there, but that's something that I keep up with, and I do once a month. We have a lunch, and we have to meet individually and build those connections. And so that's really important to me. Sometimes I do videos. I'm actually now about to get in, I'm going to do an interview for a vendor for doing more videos on TikTok. I was doing them by myself, and then I just got so busy. It's so hard for me to be like, yes, from 3 to 4 today, I am going to shoot 5 videos. Like, you have to force me. I love doing it, but it's a thing of like, that's not the first thing on my mind. It's like, no, I need to make sure the firm finances are okay. I got to make sure like production is going. I got to make sure the leads are in. Like, so I'm going to work on that this year, doing video marketing. But for the most part, yeah, the referrals, the ads, and that's it at the moment.
Yeah. We do quite a bit of TikTok videos, and the way when we first started, I have a videography background and photography and stuff like that. And when we first started, we were out of the house, and I'm like, hey, we got to film a video. So I would take a concept, type up a video script. We had a teleprompter there on the camera, lights all set up. Ashley would shoot the video, and then I'd have to edit it, right, and have to trim it all up, and it would take. It was a decent quality video. It would take me 4 or 5 days to get one 3-minute video done. Yeah. And then we met this guy, Michelangelo Mortallero. He's over in Tampa, and he mentored us quite a bit. He's doing the same stuff that we do, bringing in. At that time, he was bringing in like $8 million in revenue, and he said $2 million of it was directly from TikTok. And
I believe that.
I was like, holy shit, are you serious? And we looked at his videos, and he told us what he does. He literally just sets the camera up, has a little ring light, and just shoots. And then there was like a couple videos he was like at his kid's soccer game, like the wind is blowing hard. It's like all ruffly in the microphone. And you look at the video, and it's got 90,000 views. I'm like, oh my God, you kidding me?
Yeah.
So what Ashley started doing was at the end of the day, usually around 6 o'clock, she just sets the camera up, her phone with a light, and shoots like a 3 to 5 minute video. No editing at all. And then she uploads it. And then we have someone in-house who takes the video and downloads it and then puts it up on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the channels. We take the transcripts from YouTube, right? Because you can just export them really easily. Take the transcripts, plug it into ChatGPT, say, give us a blog on this. And then we take the YouTube video, embed it in an email, and send it out to our email list. And we send it out 4 times a week. So yeah, that one video that takes her, 5 minutes to do, just gets blasted. It's amazing, and it's free. Yeah. Yes, but it sounds like a lot of work. It does? That I do not have time for. What about it sounds like a lot of work for you? You're like, I'm here, then I go there, then I'm here, then I'm like, no, thank you. I'd rather just pay somebody to deal with that. Yeah. Like, but just, for you, we joke around like in my office, like, I'm the talent. They're like, I'm just the talent. I'm like, I'm just the talent. Just put me in front of the camera. Yeah, that's the same. However the thing goes, go. That's the same thing with her. She's just I need to know how that works. Yeah, she doesn't. She's back end work on it. Huh? No, because she's doing all the back work end on it. You said, oh no, you have somebody else doing that. Yeah, no, she just shoots the video. I'm saying you have somebody else to actually do the back end work. Not, I think, is the part that is hard for us, the owner. Yeah, you don't have someone that could do that for you. I do, but if I put one more thing on this person's plate, I think they're going to leave me. So yeah, you could probably hire some kid right out of high school or something like that to a couple hours a week to do it. Yeah, that's true. I think for me, it's more of like the accountability. I just need someone to sit me in the chair and be like, "You're going to talk about these 5 things. Like, let's go right now," because otherwise, my mind is somewhere else. I'm not thinking about doing that. Yeah, is coming up with the video ideas, is that a pain in the ass for you too? No, I can come up with the video ideas. And when I was doing that on TikTok, it was actually in the moment, because I would get a phone call from a client or a potential client, and I would be like, this is an interesting issue that comes up a lot that people misunderstand. Let me talk about that. So that's not the problem for me. The problem for me is like getting me to sit still somewhere. So my office manager, who I love dearly, and she's amazing. I call her my lawyer babysitter. Because if there's something like I have to do and I need to focus, I'm like, okay, make sure that like I don't get up from here or I start emailing about something else, because, as the owner, right, my mind is in a million different directions all day long. And so she's been very helpful in keeping me on track. Yeah. Ashley needed that from me for maybe the first 2 years. And then all of a sudden she just started doing the videos on her own, because it would be like, be like, okay, film a video. Oh, I got this going. I got this going on and that. And say, okay, I say 20 minutes later, okay, film a video. And then I just stopped having to bug her one day. And I don't know what happened in her universe, but she just started doing it. And it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I don't have to hound her. So what's your long-term plans with the firm? That's a very good question. My long-term plans with the firm are to grow it, I think, as much as I can, until I decide that I don't want to anymore. I mean, right now I'm having fun. I feel like we're making an impact in the legal field in Central Florida, particularly for women. And I am very proud of that, and I want the firm to be a place where parents, mothers, because most of us are mothers, can work and feel like they can have both. They can spend time with their family, but they can also be this amazing, powerful professional. And I think right now that is the culture of my firm, and I am
I'm proud of that right now. And so I don't want that to stop. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll be like this, I'm done. I grew to as much as I wanted to grow to, and now I'm off to another project because I do have other passions. One of them is, like I said, that women's event that I do every year, and some other businesses that I'm always thinking about starting, but never have time to start. But yeah, I mean, that's it for me. I mean, that's my plan, to just have as many amazing women I can have here working, and make a change in the community in Central Florida as to what, a law firm needs to be like.
Yeah. What's your idea of what a law firm needs to be like?
So, how it is. You graduate law school and then they stick you in some office in the corner in the dark, reviewing discovery all day long. And they pay you this big salary, right? And you're like, oh, it's so amazing. They're paying this huge salary. But then, you're required to bill 2,400 hours a year. So you never see the light of day. What are you going to do with this salary besides, I guess, pay for your house, pay for your car? But you're not really enjoying your life. You don't have any freedom. And so for me, that's not it. I do think that it's possible to have a successful law firm and be a successful lawyer and still make money, and also have the freedom that you want, whether or not to be, like you were saying, you want to travel, okay, do that. I'm a mom. I like spending time with my daughter on Fridays. You could not offer me any amount of money to be like, no more Fridays off for you. No, absolutely not. That for me is a non-negotiable. And so a lot of the staff in here, same thing. They'll tell me I have a baseball game for my son. I need to go to this birthday party, or Disney's tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, no problem. As long as you're meeting your goals and you're bringing value to this firm, I'm fine with that. I don't think you need to sit in your chair from 9 to 6 all day long. Unless, you're the receptionist or the intake person, that's different. But I'm saying the production staff, the associates, the same thing. I don't, as long as they're making their billable requirements, they'll ask me for time off favors, and I'm happy to do all of that. And I don't think that's something that's prevalent even still now in Central Florida in 2025. It's not. I mean, there's a model for how law firms are supposed to work, and that's what happens right now.
Yeah. I think you're pretty spot on with that. We definitely have the same viewpoint that you do, right? And a very good work-life balance, being able to make a lot of money while still doing it. We pay our staff very well. We've had countless, I used to do this, particularly when we first started, but I'd interview a bunch of people and be like, okay, this is the person that I want, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'd ask them, okay, how much do you want to make? And they give me a number. And then I'd almost always give them, I'd say, okay, I think you're worth more than that. And I'd give them a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It always it kind of set it off on the right foot. Whereas a lot of times it's a negotiation the opposite way, where, they're saying, oh, I want, 100,000 a year. And you're like, oh, I'll give you 95. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a little bit of starts out a little bit demeaning almost. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I felt like that was pretty big, because I did value them. And when you look at it as like a business owner, okay, you pay someone 100 grand or 95, that doesn't make much difference to your bottom line, right? Your payroll every week doesn't change very much, but for them, it's a big difference. Yeah, and we fully embraced the whole non-stuffy attorney atmosphere, right? Making it very comfortable, lively, parties every week. Birthdays, and we have lunch for the staff at least once a week, sometimes twice. We have a culture guru. Her job is literally tracking birthdays and anniversaries and parties. Yeah, that's what her only job.
I don't have a person dedicated to that, but we do celebrate all of those things as well. And I do think, like, when you treat your staff like humans, I mean, they're humans. They have their own dreams, ambitions. They have their own families. They have their own worries. I think when you recognize that, they want to do the most for you. They want to make sure that the firm succeeds, that the firm succeeds collectively with their whole team. And, you know, as lawyers, there's a lot of times where they have my back. You know, the people will say something, or, you know, opposing counsel will say something, or a client will complain, and they're like, actually, no, here's how it really is. And I know that they, in turn, do that and feel comfortable doing that because they know I have their back. Yeah. Right? If a client calls and screaming at them, and I hear you're screaming at them, I will call the client and say, you do not speak to my paralegal this way. You're not speak to my associate this way. You're going to get fired. And I'm draw the line right there about that. So I do not let them mistreat my staff.
Great job on that.
So I think when you give in that, yeah, that's insane. Like,
it's nuts. It's
insane
nuts
to me. And you know, it makes me crazy when they get on the phone with me and they're like, hi, how are you? I'm like, no, I just
talked to my receptionist. Yeah, you just talked to my receptionist like an asshole.
Right. Yeah. No, this is not going to happen this way. So, you know, they know I protect them, and in turn they protect me. And I don't know, but I don't know. People mistreat their staff though, and they do very well. So I don't know, maybe I'm off base here.
No, their staff hate them. They hate them.
That's true. I guess it's a fear thing, not a respect thing. Yeah. No,
yeah, and people feel backed into a corner, right? They got to pay their bills. They have this job. It's not easy, especially when you have a family, to leave employment, right, without having something set up when it should be, when it's like in your best interest too. You know, it's like you're working for some toxic ass boss who's demeaning and all that. Mm-hmm. And you just know it. You dread going in there every single day. And maybe you're applying to places and not getting a position. It's like, shit, what do I do? You know, they get stuck between a rock and a hard place. And then they start thinking, you know, they can start thinking that it's them, that they're the problem, or, you know, it's like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure you've heard these stories. I mean, I've heard stories from people who are now attorneys telling me when they were support staff at law firms, like they would get things thrown at them,
I've heard
yelling,
that too.
Screaming. I'm like, what? How?
No.
Like, how? I've never had anything thrown at me. Yeah. Right. I'm like, how does that work? People just throw things and think that in the workplace and think that's like fine. You didn't report it to anybody. You know?
It's like it's almost comical because it's like so crazy to think that someone a boss would do that. But yeah, I've heard the same things.
Right. No.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me. Thank God. I've had the privilege of working in very nice places. I was a paralegal before I went to law school for about 4 years. I've been working in the legal industry since I was 19. So I've had, thank God, the privilege and pleasure of being treated with respect for the most part. I've never had anything thrown at me. I can't remember any time I've had anybody scream at me. So that's not what I saw. But regardless, I mean, that's atrocious. That's like caveman behavior.
It is caveman behavior. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
It is what it is.
Yeah. What, revenue wise, what kind of goal do you want to hit?
For 25?
25, or like ideally, like what would be the number where you're like, I've made it?
I've made it. Okay, well, there's two different I made it's. There's the one I made it as in I've made it up this trek for the last 10 years, busting my ass, which for me is this year. It's actually this year. My revenue goal is for 25. So revenue goal for 25 is 1.2. For me to be like, I'm on an island somewhere. You guys can all go screw yourself. Don't ever call me again, I guess. It's probably somewhere at 5 million. But, you know, for me, the journey has been long to get to this 1.2 million. I mean, I had started since 2014, but again, I wasn't back by myself, I think, until 2018. So since then, you know, I've been working on this goal. I had a baby in between. So of course that, took time away from the firm and
Yeah.
my staff and the business. So now here we are, and based on all the numbers of the last couple of years and the run rate and everything, we're on track.
You've grown, you said 40% each year?
Over 40%. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Each year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just keep doing that. It's like 20% growth is great. 20% growth is great. Last year we went kind of nuts. We grew 84% last year, which is just unheard of. That's not going to happen every year. I mean, if it did, it'd be amazing, but no. Yeah. But yeah, I would be, if we consistently grew at 20% every year, I would be, stoked. Especially when you start getting up into the higher numbers. 20% starts meaning a lot more dollars, right? Yeah. What has been some of your successful actions for growing the firm?
Number one is hiring other people to do things that I wasn't the best at. So for instance, one of my big things that I should have done earlier on was I have an office manager. This literally happened because I was getting all kinds of like admin docs and taxes and all this stuff that I was like on my desk. And I came in one day and I said, oh God, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't have time for this big stack of papers and to deal with like my life here today. I have things to do, like a business to run and like clients to talk to and billing to do and marketing. So that was one of my big successes. I will tell you, I'm so happy that I have that person, and she's been very, very instrumental in the operations. And so she's the leader of intake, and she's taken that away from me, thank God, because I was the one training intake and supervising intake. And now that she does that, so it freed me up to do a lot of other things. I would say also, I wish I would have spent money on digital marketing earlier on. I was doing the networking thing and that was working out great for me, but I think it could have grown a lot faster had I hired the right digital marketing company, because as you know, you have to interview these people. And I interviewed like 5 people and asked them all kinds of questions before I hired. So I wish I would have done that a little bit sooner. The other thing that's been really
Go ahead.
The other thing that's been really, really super instrumental in all the growth is I do have a coaching company that I pay. It's called How to Manage a Small Law Firm. And I've been with them since 2019. So you can see as I've been growing, that's what I've been doing, is using their services. And that's been amazing for my personal growth, I will tell you, and my professional growth. Because there were things that I know I was doing to myself, like we're talking about self-sabotage, right? That's one of the things I knew I was doing to myself. I think number 2 was not believing in my ability alone, right? I had all these partners thinking that, oh no, I have to be, connected to these other people in order to succeed, in order to be anybody, in order to have power, in order to have influence. And that wasn't true. So that's helped me tremendously. I wish I would have invested in the coaching way before I did, because I would have saved myself so much money and so many headaches.
Yeah. Do you have any business type background before this? Well, you said you started when you were like 19, right? So
I had some idea of how firms worked, because when I was very, very young, they shouldn't even let me be doing this, but they did. The attorney would be like, here's the engagement agreement. Go have the client sign it. Get the money. And I'm like, okay. So I would give clients engagement agreements, explain it to them, take their money. So I understood that, that's how that worked. But other than that, no. I mean, I did not. So this was a new thing to me.
I think we were kind of lucky because I have extensive business experience, right? I work for a company. We opened up 3 healthcare provider. We opened up 3 facilities in California when I lived out there. I did a lot of sales and marketing, really learned like organizational structure and the flow lines and all that. So I learned a lot of that. And then, so I had that experience, probably a lot of what you've learned with coaching. Well, I assume, right? And then when we first started, it was just Ashley by herself out of the house. I was working a sales job, and then I joined with her about 7 or 8 months later. But I was that office manager that she had, right? So she was doing the production and the consults and the production, and I was handling everything else, right? So we had that from day one. And then I was also in charge of the marketing. So we were allocating a percentage of our revenue to marketing, and I was the one, controlling that. So yeah, all those three things that you said, right? Those 2 points, the marketing and the office manager. Yeah, had you had them earlier, you probably would have grown sooner, quicker,
much faster, and I would not have. I would have saved myself a lot of headache and heartache. I will tell you that much. I really truly learned. I don't know, and maybe this is a theme for my life. I don't know, but I learned everything the hard way, which I wasn't, which I don't prefer, but that's just the way it happens. You just learn everything the hard way, I guess. Trying to prevent that, but
life is, I don't know. Life is full of bumps and bruises. Yeah, life's full of bumps and bruises and hitting things as you go. And but yeah, anyone listening, if you're in doubt about digital marketing or marketing in general, or hiring the next person, do it. It's gonna, the more you're able to delegate the work, the more you can focus on growing the business. Was it financially, was it scary for you to hire people early on?
It wasn't so much the financial part for me. I think it for me was the responsibility of having to manage people. And then it became, okay, it's not one person I'm managing. That's okay. I can do that. And it was like, oh, now I got to manage 2 people. And then I was like, all right, now I got 3 people. And I'm going to tell you, when it became 4 people, I broke a little bit, because I was like, how do I give attention and time and training and myself to 4 people at one time? And so that was very, very difficult for me. And I had to learn through coaching, through workshops, through books that I read, podcasts. I had to learn how to become a better leader and how to have those management skills, because they don't teach you that in law school. They don't say, oh, by the way, you're going to have 2 paralegals when you become an attorney, like figure it out. This is how you manage the paralegals. It's literally like, here's how to be a lawyer, kind of, sort of, go out into the world. We hope you make it kind of thing. So I think for me, that was more of a challenge. And I am still learning now, even, to be a better leader, to be a better manager.
Yeah.
I think that's something I'll always be learning and always be trying to grow in.
That's a good mentality to have, right? You don't know it all, right? You don't know it all. There's always room for growth. And yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're constantly looking. We have a very open communication line with our staff, and okay, what's working, what's not working, let's change it. Like, I was just about to implement a new bonus system for our probate paralegals, and our probate administrator, she came to me, she's like, no, we can't do this. This is going to mess up this and this, and we need to change it to be this and this. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, good. Let's do it. Where I think many years ago, I probably would have been resistant to it, in the sense, just because she was pushing back on what I was saying should be. Okay, here's this bonus system that I want to implement. Here's blah, 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 X, Y, Z. And she comes in, she's like, look, that's not going to work. And I think years past, I would have been like, well, screw you. This is how we're going to do it. Right. But now I've grown and I'm more sensible. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Right. And taking their feedback and understanding. And yeah, she was totally right. The way I was going to do it was going to be stupid. Yeah.
I will tell you, because I'm my office manager now, right? I remember in like November, December, I said to her, hey, I want you to set up a bunch of lunches for me, right? Like a whole bunch for me. Set up all up in December. I want to go to lunch 3 times a week with an old referral source or a new one, or, me always socializing, right? And I remember she looked at me and she said, no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, well, what do you mean you're not doing that? Like, I just told you to schedule all of these things in December. And she's like, you're an insane woman. Like, have you seen the calendar for December? And thank God she did not do that, because I would have been pulling my hair out. I was already so booked and trying to finish out cases, that needed to be finished before we left for break. And I was like, thank God she had the sense to be like, no, you are really overdoing it and overshooting, because we're the visionaries. All I see in my mind is like, oh, I'm going to do all these like amazing lunches and I'm going to give them a gift and like, we're going to have an amazing conversation. And then, I'll be invited to their baby shower and then we'll be best friends forever. Like, that's what I'm thinking, right, in my head. And she's like, no, slow down, let's slow your roll. So thank God that we have those people in our office that know us and see us and protect us from ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's a testament to you as well, because you can have that communication where, and what I mean by that is you're willing to accept the pushback from your employee, the one you're paying the salary to. Whereas if you were that asshole employee who throws staplers at their juniors, they're not going to him and saying, hey, don't book, 5 lunches this week. Right? They're not saying that, but they feel comfortable with you enough to do it. So that's a testament to you and your personality. And well done on that. Completely another note. Do you bill hourly? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Have you ever looked into doing flat fees?
I have tested the waters with flat fees, and it does not work out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do not like limiting the clients from something that they may need. I have the mindset of, and I joke around with the clients and the consultations, the potential clients and the consultations about this, that this is the Ritz-Carlton, right? This is not the Red Roof Inn. Meaning, there's white glove service in my office. If there's something outside of the legal realm that you need maybe for me to do that's going to help your case, we will try to accomplish that for you. Right? It has to be within reason, of course, but I don't want to limit them and make them feel like, oh, I only paid Christina to do this, so like this is all I'm going to get, and I'm not going to get any kind of special treatment or that white glove service. And I think it's very important to me for them to feel like they do have that white glove service. For instance, I know some family lawyers will just say, okay, client, please drop all of your mandatory disclosure documents, which is like a huge packet of financial discovery that we have to give over in the divorce cases particularly. And we'll go through it. We hope it works out for you, right? So I'm like, no, if they're having issues because they don't know how to get their discovery or download their bank accounts, guess what, guys? Our paralegals are going to be with you on a Zoom. We will log into your account with you on Zoom, and we will pull everything that you need because it saves me time, it saves you money, and I want them to feel supported in the process. I don't want them to feel like we just gave them this checklist of things to do and bye, hope, see you later, drop you off. And I can't do that in a flat fee. I just can't, because that is special attention that I give, to some of these clients who are having a hard time getting us the disclosure that we need. Yeah,
I see. Reason I ask, we were billing by the hour when we first started. We were doing business law, and Ashley, I want to see if you ever run into this, but so before she was by herself, I was working the sales job, and her billable hours just sucked. They were just like, and now I had no legal background. I had no experience with it, but it was like, I come home and how many billable hours did you get today? Hour and a half. You were here all day. Why'd you only get an hour and a half? Well, I was doing this and I was doing that. Come to find out, she really wasn't billing for everything that she should bill for. She would collect a retainer.
Of course.
I don't know, say,
busy.
What's that? So she would collect a retainer for
she's busy running the firm. I mean,
yeah. She would collect a retainer for say $3,000. And when the work was really going to take, I don't know, let's say $5,000 worth of work, she collected a retainer for $3,000. She would feel bad going and getting more money from them. So she would just squeeze all of the work into that $3,000. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Do you ever run into situations like that with hourly billing?
No. I mean, like, I explain and attorneys explain the contract up front, how it works, how the trust account replenishments work for the attorney's fees. I'm providing value to them. I mean, some of them at the worst time of their life. I mean, they're getting divorced. They're going to have to now split custody of their children with this asshole that they've been married to for 20 years, right? Like they're going through a lot. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, great, I want to help you with that. I want to make sure that I can mitigate this a little bit for you. I mean, if he's going to have custody, that's what it's going to be. I can't change that, right? But at least make this a softer landing for you when this is all over. And so I think for us, we're very good about explaining we bring value. We're bringing value to your life and your situation. And very honestly, this is not, like I said, this is not the Red Roof Inn, right? You know, you want to get that special white glove attention and you want somebody to call you back all the time, right? Then this is what it costs. I mean, that's not for you. That's fine. Because I think some clients don't want that. They just want the basics, which is fine. You know, that's their choice. And there's a firm for that. And I will refer them out to those firms if that's what they want. But no, I don't have an issue. I think your question is, do I have an issue asking them to replenish the retainer?
Yeah, replenishing the retainer as well as like billing for everything, I guess.
No,
you know,
I don't have an issue with that.
Well, it's good. Good for you. Because I was trying to get her to do it and she just couldn't do it.
Let me tell you the best thing ever is, and this just happened to me, and I don't know if the judge is trying to throw me a bone or something, but you know, I'm there in front of the judge. This happened a couple of days ago in a hearing. The client's with me. It's me, the client, my two associates. We're laughing, all three of us, me and the associates, because we're like, this judge probably thinks like, we think this is like O.J. Simpson trial, like the trial of the century. Like we brought the whole legal team here, right? You know, all the attorneys in the office. And the client has paid a significant amount of money because it's been a very complicated case. There's been a lot of delays. It's just been very complicated. And we're dealing with a really sensitive matter. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, she's paid a lot, but there's been a lot that's been done. And so far, so good on her end, right? So she's happy. So the judge is funny because he said to her, well, you know, this is going to happen and you need to talk to your lawyer about this when we're done with this hearing. And, you know, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like nodding my head. And he's like telling the client, he goes, you know, you have a very good lawyer. And I love when they do that because to me, I'm like, great. Now he's validated to her that it's worth what she's paid, right? That I'm not some bottom basement lawyer who came in here today without preparation and not knowing how this all goes down. You know, didn't pick me up off the street, basically, is what I'm trying to explain. So I think when they know that and they find value in it, which I always am trying to bring the value to them, then they're okay with it. They're like, all right, yes, I got to replenish the retainer. Okay, yes, I got to pay you $10,000 to go to a trial. Like that's what it's going to be. So. Yeah,
I'm right with you. With we used to compare ourselves to when people say, "Oh, you're too much," or "You charge too much," and we'd be like, "Look, we're Mercedes. We're not Hyundai. If that's what you want, then you can go get it. But that's not us." And we actually still like when people tell us our fees are high. We say, "Look, our fees are like some of the highest in the area," and we proudly. It's like a badge to say that, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we're proud of that. We charge high rates. You're going to get exceptional service, but also from like a positioning standpoint, it's like if people are price shopping, they're usually price shopping either for the cheapest or the most expensive. They're not usually shopping for the middle ground. So the middle ground is a little bit of no man's land. You really don't differentiate yourself much when you're in the middle of the pack. But when you charge a lot or you charge above, it's like a lot of people will buy the most expensive just because it's the most expensive. Anyway,
well, I think they equate the most expensive with the best, right?
They do. They do. Yeah. Yeah. It's not always true, but a lot of times it is. A lot of times it is.
And listen, did I command that in my first year, my second year, my third year, my fourth? No, I did not. Right. But I think at this point, you know, based on everything I've done with the firm, the experience that I have, the brand that I've built, the referrals that I have, the network that I have, I think at this point, yes, I do command that. Yeah. And I'm okay with saying that now. Before I did not think that I was worthy of that. But I think over time, you know, with more experience, you gain more confidence.
Yeah. 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 We had, when we switched to flat fees, this is where it became apparent that it was going to be good for us. We had read a book by Brita Long. I don't know if you ever. She's in some of the Facebook groups. She's got a book. Yes, she's got Happier Attorney. She was a family law attorney. But Ashley, someone had called us up and they needed this business contract drafted on a rush. They needed it in like several days. It was very, very valuable to them. It was for a higher ticket transaction. It was going to take her about 3 to 4 hours of work. And she was charging like maybe $400 an hour at the time. And we had decided at that point, okay, we need to charge flat. We're going to charge flat rates, no more hourly. And so something that would have netted us maybe, $1,200. I said, tell them. She said, how much should I charge? I said, tell them it's $7,500. And she looked at me like white as a ghost. She said, oh my God, I can't say that. And I said, tell them $7,500. So she goes in there and she's like shaking like a leaf. I could hear her on the phone. Her voice is like cracking. And she's like, it's going to be 70. Yeah. She's like, it's going to be 7,500. They're like, okay, I have an Amex. And it was just as simple as that. And it really, really worked out in that situation. But the reason she was able to do it in such a short amount of time, because she knew this like the back of her hand. And she had all that experience, right? Where she was going to deliver an exceptional product to them. Yeah.
Of course.
Anyway, yeah.
He wouldn't have he wouldn't have paid that much if he didn't think that was true.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We laughed at her and said, that's cute.
Yeah. And the way they responded, we probably could have charged double. We could have. It was like, okay, here you go. Here's my Amex. I don't know how Brita did it. I don't know really anything about family law or, but yeah, she talks about it in her book a little bit, doing the flat fees. Anyway. So you live in Orlando. You go to Disney?
Yes, I don't know. All the time. I have a pass. We're there almost every weekend. My daughter thinks it's totally normal, like just going to walk in the park. We're here at Disney.
It's the best thing.
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's the best.
Yes.
Yeah, when we moved here, our daughter was 8 or 9, and we got a season pass. And those were our vacations. It was the long weekends was always going to Disney, and it was the best. This was the first year. Last year was the first year we didn't renew the pass. Our daughter started getting a little bit bored of it. I think 'cause we went so much, and she's not a big roller coaster person either, so it limited her rides a little bit. Granted, roller coasters aren't a lot there, but she won't even go on 7 Mine Train. That's like the most adventurous she'll get. Yeah, your daughter loves it, huh?
Loves it.
Am I breaking up?
Can't get enough. Thinks Mickey just shows up again. Which is really funny when you think back on I think back on my childhood. We did go to Disney a lot, but it wasn't every weekend, right? So I just think it's funny that this is like her normal.
Yeah. Where do you take her? What's she like the most? What park?
So she actually likes Epcot the most.
Oh.
They have a lot of characters there, and she likes to just meet the characters. She's too small for the rides. She just likes to see the characters and give them a hug and take the pictures with them.
That's
and
so
it's good
cute.
for us, right? Because they have the worlds there, and I love the worlds. So my husband and I get to enjoy it too, and then she does too. So it's a win-win for all of us.
That's the best. It's the best. You plan on having more?
No.
Yeah, we were one and done. Our daughter's 13.
No.
She was plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so cute. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, who's going to raise this baby? Who's going to raise the other one? I barely have time for my daughter now, right? I don't know. And I had a beautiful maternity leave. I got to spend 2 months with her. And then I went back to work. I mean, I got to stay with her in the house. I had a nanny for 2 years. I mean, I've just been so blessed in that sense of like, I have not missed one thing with her. And I don't know how I would recreate that for a second child in the position I am right now with the business.
I totally understand. Well, Christina, it's been fantastic meeting you and hearing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really nice.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll hold your number and send you any family law cases that we run into here in Florida.
I appreciate it. All right, same. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day and have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you so much.